Hi everyone, my name is Hannah, and this is my project scenario introduction on my trip to Europe. So, for the trip, I haven't worked on any projects as a project manager yet, so I decided to use this trip as an example. It's a trip that I planned and took this past summer. So, my fiance and I were planning to travel to Italy and France over the course of 2 weeks, and I had to complete research on locations, accommodations, flights, and excursions and tours. I then booked those things, and it was finally time to go. So, here's some of the risks associated with traveling, especially internationally. Of course, there's delays and cancellations with flights that could happen, travel and safety restrictions, foreign transaction fees, not being able to read signs or communicate with locals, pickpocketing, lost luggage, no phone service, comfort at accommodations, and possible unexpected expenses or emergency expenses. So, I'm going to get into more detail on how I minimize risk on the next slide, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the ones on here that I didn't mention on the next slide. So, as far as lost luggage, one thing I did to minimize that risk was putting AirTags in our luggage. For the phone service, we contacted our phone providers prior and made sure we would have a plan in place. For comforted accommodations, I read lots of reviews. For possible unexpected expenses and emergency expenses, we got travel insurance so that for any health concerns or loss or theft, we would be covered by the insurance. And then I'll get into more detail. Also, for reading the signs and communicating, I did take Italian before going, so because I was studying abroad in Italy, so I had a little bit of Italian under my belt. And then we also downloaded the Google Translate app. And yeah, I'll get into the rest of them on the next slide. So, as far as minimizing some of the risks, I did as much research as possible prior to booking. I researched neighborhoods, mapped distances from hotels and Airbnbs to train stations and city centers, and read tons of reviews. We also made sure that our passports were up to date. We were fully vaccinated against COVID and saved extra money in case of an emergency, and informed the local U.S. Embassy locations for each city on when we would be there and kind of the general area of where we were staying. So, for monitoring risks, we signed up for the US Embassy emails to stay updated on potential safety concerns for the cities we were visiting. I made sure to call and confirm bookings and regularly checked my email for any updates regarding the bookings. And then, for controlling some of the risks, we stayed informed and made decisions accordingly. So, when we got to Paris, we were there the first week of July. There were riots happening outside of the city center, so we avoided taking the metro beyond the city center and kind of stayed in the touristy areas. We also budgeted before our trip to get an idea of how much we would be spending, and we stuck to our budget as best we could. So that's just a little bit of information on the project and just an introduction. And thank you so much for listening.